So if you're looking for one of the essentially beefiest adjustable rear upper control arms in order to dial in your pinion angle and enjoy a little to no wheel hop, this poly bushing equipped arm from BMR is a great choice. Now, install on this is a moderate 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter, and it should take you about 2 to 3 hours to get the job done. So your rear upper control arm is out of sight, but it plays a pretty big role in how your Mustang handles. In fact, it's one of the most important pieces of your rear end suspension because it controls your axle's rotational movement. Now, ideally, your axle should not rotate at all. It should instead transfer all that torque to your wheels and tires. Now, if you're putting down a lot of power, or if your factory control arm is shot, you will experience what's called axle wrap. Now, this occurs when the axle itself rotates, and that puts some pretty bad stress on your drive shaft joints. Axle wrap causes wheel hop, so if you're trying to warm up those treads, or you're trying to pull a trick and burn some rubber, but you instead feel like your Mustang's falling apart over some washboards, well, you've got axle wrap, and you likely need a new rear upper control arm. And when it comes to picking that new control arm, bigger is obviously better. BMR's adjustable arm that I've got here measures in at a pretty robust 1 5/8 of an inch, and it's made with heavy wall tubing. In short, it's tough as hell, and that's important considering it's supposed to control all of that torque. Now, at a quick glance, this arm is obviously going to be the best choice because the logic is pretty simple. You want more stability, you want the biggest arm available, it will control your axle the best. The other two pieces of the equation are adjustability and the bushing itself. Now, an adjustable control arm is really a best buy if you've lowered your ride at all, because the length between the axle and the control arm will change with that lower ride height. Now, you really want to dial in the correct distance with an adjustable arm once you lower your ride, because it will correct the pinion angle on your drive shaft, and that will ensure your ride isn't going to snap a joint on the drive shaft itself. Now, again, that last piece of the pie is the bushing, like I mentioned. This arm features a poly bushing, which you can see here, and a poly bushing is really the Goldilocks, if you will. It's a great middle of the road option. On the one end, you have your stock rubber bushing, which is very soft. It honestly doesn't do a good job at controlling your axle. And on the opposite extreme, you have a spherical bearing. Now, a spherical bearing is essentially a solid connection with absolutely no movement. It's great for track day, but if you daily your car, you will definitely feel that in the seat of your pants on the streets, because you're going to feel a lot of noise, vibration, and harshness. Now, this poly bushing is a good compromise because it helps the arm with stability, but it won't kill your ride comfort. Now, BMR's adjustable option comes in at just shy of $200. Keep in mind, this is essentially one of the best options available, given its build quality and its poly bushing. Also, you have the jam nuts on here, which are a really great method of adjustment, and I believe that this is the most reliable and precise way to dial in that pinion angle, like I mentioned, and overall the build quality of this arm will handle punishment the best. Lastly, you do have a nice grease fitting on here to help make sure that poly bushing has a nice long life. Now, the only more expensive option is BMR's spherical bearing option, and if you wanted something really affordable, I would look at BMR's fixed version of the same control arm, which does not include any adjustability, and that comes in at around $70. So, you're pretty convinced that this is the best choice, right? Now that I've talked your ear off. I definitely think so. And I'm actually going to install this on my personal ride because I like this UCA the most. My factory arm and bushing are shot, so I'm getting plenty of clunky noises and wheel hop in my rear. I'm tired of it, and I don't want to snap a joint on my way home. So let's head over to the garage and I'll show you guys how to get this done. Okay, so to start this install, you have to remove your bottom rear seats. It's pretty easy. There's just 2 retaining clips hidden underneath here. You have to press both of those. You can actually lift the seat out of the vehicle. All right, so now that we have the rear seat cover removed, it's time to remove our upper control arm mount bolt. This is an 18mm head. This bolt is tightened down pretty tight, so you might need a big old breaker bar. We're gonna go ahead and loosen it now. Now that we have that first bolt removed underneath the rear seats and the car is up on the lift, we're going to actually loosen the control arm mount itself. That's going to give us just enough room to pull all the bolts out of the arm without having to touch the gas tank. To remove the first 2 bolts, you're going to need an 18mm socket and a couple of extensions so you can reach up in there. With the bolt that holds the arm to the axle removed, the last step is removing the bolt that holds the arm to the control arm mount. In order to do that, you're going to need a 21mm socket with an extension, and you're going to need an 18mm wrench to hold the other side. It is a tight fit, but since the mount is loose, you should have enough play to get both of these in there. Okay, now that we have our factory control arm out of the vehicle, it's time for us to size up our new arm since it's adjustable to match the OE length. You want to get it as close as possible to the OE length to make the install itself simple. Then once you have it on the vehicle, you can actually adjust your pinion angle. Now, when you're adjusting this, you want to make sure both jam nuts are equidistant from the center, and you want to make sure all the holes on both control arms line up with each other as close as possible. So with our arm adjusted approximately to OE length, it's time for us to bolt it back up to the vehicle. Now when you do that, you want to make sure that the grease fitting is pointing down, that way you can access it from underneath the vehicle. With the bolt that secures the arm to the mount in place and hand tightened, we're actually going to re-secure the arm mount itself to the vehicle with our original hardware. Now the next step is securing the arm to the axle with the original hardware. The original bolt is winged, which would catch on the original arm. The new arm does not have a catch, so you're going to have to hold that edge with an 18mm wrench while you tighten down the other side. So the last step underneath the vehicle is securing the bolt that secures the arm to the mount itself. Now we left it hand tightened so that we could have some articulation in it to secure everything else. Now that everything else is secured and tightened down, it's time for us to tighten it as well. You need an 18mm and a 21mm wrench to fit into those tight spaces. Now that the vehicle is back on the ground and our control arm is in place, the last step is tightening up this bolt right here. Now, it's very important that this is tightened down to 129 foot-pounds. That way you make sure that your arm is secure while you're driving around. So with your rear seat back in and that last bolt tightened down to spec, that actually wraps up our review and install of BMR's adjustable rear upper control arm. Be sure to check it out more online, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.